You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
I'm Daniel, and this is the Monday Night Community Show. We're now joined with Neil and Cathie. They're talking all about the Holm Place Angling Club, a local fishing club here locally in Swale. I think I'm going to be speaking to Cathie first. So, Cathie, firstly, welcome along to the show.
Welcome, Daniel.
Now, how long has the fishing club been going then?
Our fishing club has been going for over 35 years. When our two boys were young, we used to take them fishing for eels in the ditches. There were also some rudd. After they went to school, their friends went fishing with them. It was all very informal, and it kept young boys off the streets in the school holidays.
Now, I understand that when it first started, you were running the club on your own. What was that like?
It was really quite difficult because there was somebody always knocking at the door, saying to me, "Please, please, can you come and catch my fish for me, or help me land my fish? Can you weigh my fish? Can you take a picture of my fish? Oh dear, I've got a duck on the end of my line. Please, can you come and get the duck off my line?" There were all sorts of funny things that happened. And because it is a working farm and surrounded by urban development, we introduced a signing in and a signing out book. This was very helpful late on summer evenings when perhaps a distraught mother had found that her little Johnny hadn't arrived home, and she was anxious to know where he might be. So I would go out to the book and look to see, OK, he'd left about 10 minutes ago, or maybe he was still on the farm. And that would just leave an anxious mother at peace.
Cathie, how did the club sort of become known and popular?
About 35 years ago, my husband bought 100 4 to 6 inch mirror carp for £25. When he put them in the water, I told him he may as well have put £25 down the drain. However, 3 or 4 years later, a small boy caught a carp, a £5 carp.
Right.
The news spread like wildfire, and we were overwhelmed by adults wanting to come fishing.
So what prompted you then to set up a committee?
Well, all fisheries need to be managed, and we restricted the number to 100 members. Club cards were introduced, and some sensible rules were introduced. I became an agent for the environment fishing licences, and my commission was passed over to the club. However, with the demands of the farm, the organising of the club became too onerous, and a committee was formed from the adult members of the club.
So what did the committee do then?
The committee took on all the administration of the membership. They arranged fishing competitions with other clubs, for instance, the Stevedores as it was then, and with Linton, who they still fish with today. And they restocked and we're stocking of fish and planting lilies. So basically, they took on a lot of the duties that I had already carried out, and it was much appreciated. So I could give my time back to the farm.
Neil, it's a good speech this evening.
Yeah, good evening, Daniel. You too.
So, Neil, when did you sort of first become involved with the fishing club?
I first actually became involved in the club in 1987. I was actually employed by the Medway Ports Authority at the time as a baby docker, believe it or not. And in that time, I met a gentleman called Terry Booth and Richard Leeson, who were both committee members at Holm Place Anglers. They worked at the docks as well, and we was just generally talking about fishing. And it just went from there, really. I then got a form. They introduced me to the club, and from that point it just moved on. I just went there, done my fishing. We enjoyed the matches that we had against each other. Obviously there's a lot of competition between fishermen with their matches, a lot of laughing and joking about. But yeah.
So since you've been chairman, Neil, what has the committee accomplished?
In 2009, we had a problem with where we had so much dry summers over so many years. The dike had become virtually dry in certain areas. So we had a look at it as a committee, and I then went and spoke to Mr. Lewis, the farmer. It was going to be a half-hour chat. I think it was something like 3.5 hours later. I'd come out from the farm, and me and John had agreed to try and recreate the banks to how they were originally. And
I know, Neil, you're going to carry on telling us all about what you've accomplished as a club since you became the chairman.
Yeah, I am. In June 2009, once I spoke to Mr. Lewis, we'd done a small section of recreating the banks by using scaffold boards and pegs. Mr. Lewis then come and had a look, agreed, said it was okay, and to carry on with that. 400 scaffold boards later, 2,500 pegs, we'd actually completed the banks of the dike and refurbished them to a standard that was required for the fishing club. Mr. Lewis then organised for the dikes to be dug to 1 metre deep. The spoil was then put behind the boards to level the ground out and improve the banks to the dike. The committee and members have had some training from Mr. Lewis on his machinery, and he's been so good, and we actually use his tractors and trailers to move the spoil that we needed. In 2010 we planted lilies along the main dike. We've also planted almost 500 trees in 2010 and 11 to improve the environment. We've had to erect fencing to protect our trees from cows and rabbits eating them. This has proved to be expensive but necessary. We have now erected 6 disabled swims to the dike. These are made using decking, and the size and design has been completed to the Disabled Angling Association guidelines. In 2011, the committee had an idea to invite a special needs school for a nature talk, which Cathie will talk about in a while. The testimonial from them was absolutely fantastic. The committee consists of 8 people, all have their part to play in the fishing club. We have Cathie Lewis, who keeps us all under control. Gavin Russell, he's the secretary. Richard Leeson, he's the treasurer. Sean Barnard, he's in charge of competitions. Claire Howell, she's looks after the fun day. Steve Elliott, who raises funds for the club. And Ray Bryce and Andy Langworthy, the maintenance, and myself as chairman. I get involved in most things. We do have a good mixture of people at the club now. Disabled, juniors, ladies, etc. 3 of our committee members are going on the 9th of June to Hadlow College to train for the Level 1 coaching. This will be a great achievement for the club.